Hi, my name is Anthony Bowles from Anthony Bowles Architecture Limited. Thank you for watching this video series explaining what initial surveys you may need to get your construction project underway. The final survey in the series is acoustic surveys. Let's just quickly review the overall series set to recap. Here is the full list. I won't read through it line by line though, so please just press pause if you would like to go through it in your own time. So, pre-commencement benchmark sound insulation tests, or acoustic surveys, can be a requirement within a leasehold agreement and can be one of the conditions that need to be met if a license to alter is going to be issued for refurbishments to a property, particularly where changes of floor finishes are proposed. A classic example would be if a person with a first floor flat in a Victorian property wants to change the floor finish in their corridor from carpet to timber floorboards. Let's take a look at an example lease requirement. Let's just read through the text together. Guidelines for hardwood and hard flooring installations. Point 1. We may consider granting a license for alterations for the installation of hardwood floors or hard floors in place of the lease requirement for fully fitted carpets and underlay. You will need to satisfy us that the following minimum requirement to control impact and airborne sound are adopted. Any license granted will require you to accept a nuisance clause. In the event that the hardwood floor or hard floors causes a nuisance, that the floor will be covered with a fully fitted carpet and underlay at your expense to comply with the lease terms. And point 2 on sound testing. Establish a benchmark of the existing situation by employing a competent person to carry out sound tests to various British standards for both airborne sound and impact sound before any refurbishment works are undertaken, with all the carpets laid in accordance with the lease requirements. And then there is some technical guidance on that. And then point 3 on the building regulations. We go to this end section here. The building regulation requirement is only to be used as the minimum requirement and cannot be used where greater sound insulation qualities have been proven by the initial sound tests. An existing situation takes precedence over building regulation requirements where sound insulation performances are greater. As you can read in that text, with this kind of work, the requirements are generally not to do with just meeting Part E of the building regulations, but to do with making sure that any proposed works do not make the situation any worse than it was before, even if the new situation complies with the building regulations. There are 2 types of sound that need to be considered. One is airborne sound. This would be something like speech or playing music. The other is impact sound, and as the name suggests, this would typically be something more like footfall and is associated with hearing the sound of someone wearing hard shoes on their newly installed hardwood flooring in the flat above. As part of your license to alter requirements, you may be required to go through a testing procedure so that the before and after situations are documented and validated. Firstly, let's summarize the airborne sound insulation test procedure. With this test, a high-volume white noise machine is used to generate specific sound levels in the room being tested, which is termed the source room. A handheld microphone is then moved around the room to get some evenly distributed bass readings for noise levels over something like a 30-second period. The measurement procedure is then repeated in what is called the receiver room, which is typically either the flat below or the flat next door. This then gives you your readings for airborne sound. Secondly, you have the impact sound insulation test procedure. A tapping machine is used for this test. Here is a quick video clip of what a tapping machine looks like and what it does. As you can see, it's a pretty funny looking contraption. So this machine is positioned in a minimum of 4 locations, evenly distributed around the source room. And crucially, the machine is positioned on any existing floor finish, i.e. with any carpet and underlay laid as existing on the date of the tests. The sound levels are then measured in the receiving room, again using a microphone in multiple locations to get readings that represent an even distribution. With both of these tests, some additional clever technical stuff is done to measure and allow for background noise and reverberation within the various rooms. All of this establishes the benchmark existing situation before any works are carried out. A report will be prepared and it can then be issued to any relevant parties, such as a management company or adjoining neighbour. Here is an example of what a report may look like. This first part of the report is to do with an airborne sound test. As you can see, it's a fairly dry table with just source room, receiver room, and then the results for the benchmark airborne sound insulation test. One important note is that for airborne sound insulation, the higher the value, the better the level of sound insulation. So in this case, the highest level recorded was 53, which was between the first floor flat hallway and the ground floor flat bathroom. In the next part of the report shows the impact sound test results. And again, the dry table, source room, receiver room, benchmark results for the impact sound insulation tests, but slightly differently with this test. For impact sound insulation, the lower the value, the better the level of sound insulation. So in this case, the two best results were 31 and 33, both of which are recorded as being taken on existing carpet. Once you have all this information, you can then make decisions on what mitigating design choices may need to be made to ensure that the sound transfer situation is not made worse by any works that are carried out. Your acoustic survey team or design team should be able to assist you in making decisions on this. For example, you may be able to install sound absorbing insulation into the floor voids to reduce airborne noise, or you may be able to install a heavy duty underlay such as Hushmat 15 beneath any new areas of tiles or floorboards. Keep in mind that saying you will put a rug down over the hard flooring is not considered mitigation, as any post-refurbishment survey will be carried out on the permanent overall floor finish, not on any localized areas of improvement. Here is a quick look at the Hushmat solution. This is a 15mm deep mat made of recycled car tyres. As you can see from the diagram, it fits over the subfloor boarding and under your floor finishes. It does an excellent job of reducing impact sound transfer. However, it does of course typically raise your floor level by a corresponding 15mm, and this could have knock-on effects. You may need to have any retained doors trimmed shorter, you may need to modify or raise any skirting boards, and you may end up with equivalent level differences wherever the Hushmat ends, for example where the front door to a flat meets a communal landing. All right, I hope that was at least somewhat helpful and interesting. That completes this initial series of videos on surveys. I hope it didn't feel like too much of an ordeal getting through them. Moving forward, I may do some others on design or on fees or on the planning process. In the meantime, if you have any questions, comments or feedback on anything that has come up so far, please do get in touch so we can discuss it further. I will put my email address at the end of this video. Many thanks for watching.